All right. Welcome, everyone. Today we are doing some of the final touches on our sound design for theater. I hope your week has been great. Today we will talk more about mastering sound design for theater, and we'll discuss some of the tools that are so vital in polishing up your work once you've put everything on the timeline, you've had your dialogue moving, you've had all these elements happening, how to deal with it, like the final touches. So today we will look at frequency and compression. So I know there are people who are asking about EQ, equalization, and also compressors. Different people, I'm sure, have had these terms. And today we are going to look at the practical use of these tools and how important they are in sound. The more you get pro, these are tools you really, really have to get good at using. So frequency management, we already have a whole PDF talking about frequency, talking about what it means, how sound travels through air. We have all that introduction. So today we're looking at the frequency spectrum, but using the tool in sound that deals with frequency, which is the equalizer. So of course, we need to know frequency ranges. So I'm going to remind you what we discussed before, where we said the human ear can perceive 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz or 20 kilohertz. Okay, so in sound design, obviously, that's the spectrum we are working with because we are making sound for people. If we were doing it for dogs, I don't know, that would be so interesting. But, and we kind of break these ranges in different terms. So we have the sub bass. So these are low frequencies between 60 hertz and below. These, we feel them more than we hear them. And then we have bass, which is like from 60 hertz to like 250 hertz. And then we have low mid frequency, upper mid, and presence, which is 4K to 6K, sharpness and definition. So there are terms right there that can help you like get to know what these frequency ranges do and how we perceive them as human beings. So for example, like 60 to 250 gives us a sense, a feeling of warmth and fullness. And 250 to 500, gives, let's say if it's an instrument or the voice, like it feels rich and like it feels like it has body to it. And then when you have 500 to 200, which is the mid-range, most fundamental frequencies. So the fundamental frequency, these are the frequencies that define something. So the fundamental frequency of a man is different from a fundamental frequency of a woman. And that's why we have these ranges. So let's say 500, I could have a fundamental of a man in that range. And then like around 250, 300, around that area, I might have a fundamental frequency of a woman. So the fundamental frequency will be a little bit higher. We're going to demonstrate that shortly. And then we have the upper mid, 2K to 4K presence, where you have like sharpness or like definition in certain things. So if you have a dense mix of all these elements you've been working with, at around 4K to 6K, you'll have like a way to make these things more defined. Let's say, for example, if you play percussions and you're drumming, you'll get the sound. The fundament of the percussion will be down maybe 300 or 200, and then the mid frequencies will be like where you hear the instrument, but the point where you have that contact with the drum, that right will be around 4K to 6K. And then brilliance is the sparkle. Yeah, something like that. If you don't have headphones, I'm sure you didn't hear that. So actually, this is a class that requires everyone to have their headphones. And because we will really demonstrate some of these things. So this is a frequency chart that shows you different frequencies and the ranges. So here we have the frequency name from 20 to 20K, and then up here we have 3 bands that can be split into other smaller bands. For example, like bass can be split into deep bass, which is also, we have established it as sub. So from like deep bass and low bass, this is all sub. And then we have 80 to like 160. That's about like mid bass and upper bass, going to like 200, 290. And then from 300, we have mid frequencies going all the way up to high frequencies. So the chart is just here. You can refer to it anytime you're working on something. If something is powerful in a certain range, you should be able to identify it and know where to go on the equalizer to treat that subject. So this is usually, most equalizers are designed like this. So you'll have the X and Y axis. So I'll jump here. I'll go back and show you the images. So visual representation. So frequencies can be represented visually using tools like spectrum analyzers. These tools display a graph where the X represents frequency from low to high, that is from left to right. Actually, in audio, everything starts from left to right. Even when you're connecting in 2 speakers, left is usually number 1. So it's left, right. And right is usually color-coded color red. So usually if you have 2 cables and one is red, another one is white, most chances are white is left, red is right. That's a tip I've just thrown here. And then the y-axis shows us amplitude, or yes, amplitude. So this is the frequency equalizer. This is basically how it is. It will give you a graph like this to visualize whatever you're going to work with. On this side, we have on this, so we have X and Y. On this Y, we have our frequencies. So sometimes they might not name every frequency. So in this case, this curve can show us from 10 Hz. It can show us way below than we can hear. And then it goes to 100, 1 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz to 100 kilohertz, which is way, way, way up there that most people cannot perceive. So we'll perceive only up to around here, 20K. 100 kilohertz is overkill. So this shows you the amplitude. This shows you the frequency that you're dealing with. And there are different things on an equalizer that working with an equalizer that you have to know. So we use filters to manipulate an equalizer, and these filters are named differently. We have the most common ones, the high pass and the low pass filters. So high pass means every high frequency will pass through. Low pass means only low frequencies pass through. So for example, like you see this that says high pass, you see there is the way it is made, it has a slope. So it's cutting everything behind it. On this left side, there is no available sound that we can perceive, because this filter has filtered all the low frequencies from here to this side. And then with this one, it says low pass. It means everything on this high side has been cut off. So everything from here below pass through. So everything down is low, everything this side is high. So as we've established, from left to right, it's low frequencies to high frequencies. So that means we have low pass and high pass. These have another name where we can call it high pass or low cut. So if you're saying only high frequencies go through, it also means you're saying low frequencies don't go through. We are cutting you. So it can be a low cut or a high pass filter. Okay. And then up we have a low pass or high cut. That means you're cutting high frequencies. And then we have one called a shelf. So a shelf basically is a slow curve that goes smoothly up or down. And then we have a bell. A bell is just like a bell. I'm going to show you all these things. So the bell is more like a V of sorts. And then a notch is so tight. It's like a bell, but a very narrow bell. And then we also have another shelf. So we have two shelves, low shelf, high shelf. And then we have bell, notches, and high pass and low pass filters. So let me, maybe before we proceed, let me show you my Cubase. Okay, so I'm opening it blank, and I'm just going to create a track that has noise, just random noise. So I'm going to use what they call pink noise to generate sound that we will work with. So the group, call it plus, create a channel, and call it pink noise. Okay. Right. Welcome back. The noise is done. So I'm going to, we've seen we use analyzers to see. So I have an analyzer here, It's called Span. This is a free analyzer. If I play the sound that I am working with, it is showing us, change the settings. Let me use supervision. Sorry. Spectral curve. Let me create a new one. It's called spectral. So this is going to be our analyzer. This other one that I use, I might mess it up and I need it. So we have on this domain, we have dB, and on this domain, in this direction, up here, you can see 50 Hertz, 100 Hertz, 1 kilohertz, 2 kilohertz, 10 kilohertz, and 20 kilohertz. So when I play the noise, you kind of see like the whole spectrum is full, because pink noise is equal volume across the whole spectrum. That's the noise you'll hear on different, like TV, or actually those use white noise, but pink noise will be used mostly in calibrating systems, or things like that. So on my channel, I have inserted an equalizer. So this is an equalizer plugin. And first of all, I want to show you a shelf. So here, everything in this particular EQ that is built in, that comes with Cubase, everything is set to bell. So everything, everywhere I touch is bell, but usually like high frequencies like here, you want them to be in a shelf. So let's start by seeing what shelves are. So this is a shelf. Now it's different from how it was reacting before. You see, from where I'm boosting from, there's a gentle curve going upward. That is a shelf. And what I do is it's the same way it's going to affect the frequency I'm working with. So if I play, you can see this area its volume was being increased. So the equalizer basically increases volume of frequencies. And if we cut, it will be the opposite. So you can see it's identical how it looks. It's identical with what we have on our frequency analyzer. You're seeing two signals because this analyzer is showing us left and right. So it's showing us in stereo. So next is, that's a shelf. The other one is going to be, so let me make 7 a shelf instead, and let's make 8, the one I was using before, let's make it a cut. So in this case, this equalizer is showing us cut, or it's showing us a shelf, a low shelf and high shelf, peak, which is the same as bell filter, and then notch. So I want to pick cut. So it has different options for cut. This number here shows you how hard the slope is going to be. So if I choose, let's cut 96, it means this curve is cutting at an angle of, let's say, 96. It's very steep. If we get a gentle one, let's say 6, you see how smooth it is? It's just cutting very smoothly and gently. And the same way it reacts, it's going to affect our signal. So here we are letting only low frequencies pass through and cutting the high frequencies using a filter, which is a high cut filter. So let's go in the middle, maybe 24. So 24. So notice everything I do is happening to our analyzer. Then we are going to look at the notch. So 7, we turned it into a shelf. See, it's a shelf. It's going up smoothly. 6 is set to notch. So notch is like a bell. You see, this is like a shape of a bell. And so that's what bells do. They will focus on only one area of the frequencies, and these are called band. Sometimes people will call it a notch or a band filter. So a band filter says a range of here to here is going through. So for example, we can set the band width wide or smaller. So band width is how wide this filter is or how small it is. So for example, if it's wide, like that's how it will sound. As you can see, it's boosting around 2K. And that's how 2K sounds. And if we cut, we are cutting all that information gently. If we make the bandwidth narrow, we'll create something like this. So on our spectrum, you can see we do not have any information here. We've cut it out with this filter, which is a notch, it's not a notch, a bell filter. Then, since all the others are set to bell filters, let's look at what a notch filter is. So number 5 is going to be a bell filter. So let me change it. So all EQs will give you, these are called parametric EQs. So each parametric EQ will give you these options. So now we are going to put number 5 into notch mode. So you notice notch can go very narrow, like extremely narrow. If we boost that frequency, it will start whistling or ringing on our spectrum. You can hear that. It's because of that notch. It's now narrowing down the sound of 1 kilohertz alone. So you can make, when I sweep through, you can hear it changing. And also when we look at our analyzer, we can see that that same frequency is being boosted. Right here. Okay, so by combining these two, up here we have a high cut or low pass. Down here, we are going to create a high pass. So we put cut 24. Let's combine these and focus on only the frequency we want to hear. Let's say we want to hear the sound of 1K. So I have cut, that means I've used 2 filters and a notch. A notch will highlight 1K. High cut will cut out all the high frequencies. Low cut will cut out all low frequencies. Now we have band. So it means we are only focusing on around 1K, depending on how far these filters can allow us to go. But now it's going to be very easy to hear the sound of 1K because we've removed all this other information that was distracting us from hearing the sound of 1K. So now if I bring this back, I hope you guys are hearing. Okay. Zoom should collaborate with us.
I'm not hearing.
Yeah, let me see. Let's see how to handle that. Zoom thinks it's noise, so it's muting the sound. Let's can you hear now? Give me like a thumbs up if you can. Great. Great. So I'm going to show and redemonstrate what we've gone through before. So I showed you a high cut. So this cuts all high frequencies. Let's cut them out. Let me remove the notch.
Recording in progress.
So you see, it's cutting out all high frequencies. Depending on where I set it, all high frequencies are gone. Then low frequencies, this is a low cut filter or a high pass. We are cutting low frequencies and letting high frequencies pass through. So we don't have any low frequency information. Okay, and then this is the sound of the notch. You can hear it ringing or whistling. It's because it's only focusing on a particular range of frequencies. So if you want to hear the sound of 1K more, we remove all these distractions and focus only on 1K. So let's use high cut and low cut filters to so this is our high cut. Let's cut all high frequencies up to around here. Now it's easy to hear this whistling sound. So basically that's what the frequency equalizer does. And on our analyzer, we can also see that what we've done here can also be shown with our analyzer. Okay, so how about we get human sounds? If we have, let's say, dialogue, let me import in any dialog file I have. I'm importing in a random voiceover. So we will listen to this person reading, and then we'll see what's happening with our frequency analyzer.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
So this guy was reading a script.
Minus the
and it actually sounds like
minus.
Just a sec. Convert. Keep.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
So we were talking about what fundamental frequencies are. What
minus
makes this a male voice is this information that we have in the low register right here.
Minus the motivational speeches. Minus the motivational speeches. Minus the motivational speeches.
So with an equalizer, we can shape the sound of this guy. If we want him to sound more like BBC and so deep,
minus the
most likely remove some information from 200 to 300, and it with a Bell filter. And sometimes the more you use EQ, it could be very easy for you to damage the audio. So you have to be very careful and know what you want to achieve with it. So this is
minus
normal.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So I've boosted that frequency. It doesn't sound so good, and it doesn't have so much it adds to. On our curve, we saw that here is where the body of the sound is, around this range of 200 to 300. Like without it, the voice would sound so thin and lifeless.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So something like this.
Minus the motivational speeches. This
just doesn't sound right. Something is missing. The body of the voice is out.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So when it's in,
minus the motivational speeches.
When it's too much, it's also too honky and boxy. So we don't want that. So let's say most like BBC mics will kind of have a very not so mid-heavy vocal.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
So we'll have something like that. I've just notched out this, and it sounds much cooler.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So when you cut, it shows you how much you're cutting. Like you can see down here, it says I'm cutting 5 dB at 312 Hz. So all that information is given to you, and then the bandwidth, that is called the Q factor or the Q or bandwidth, is 1.7. If you make it bigger, it's 0.0. It's like a scoop. It's gonna cut out more evenly, but we want to be very specific to cut out areas like here.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So usually you do a simple boost
minus the motivational speeches.
And then once you hear what you want to remove, you remove
minus
it.
the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
Okay, so if we had a lot of mid-range,
minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
so you'll go on live events and things sound so bad, and it's because either the room is boosting some frequencies, and the only thing that can fix those problems is going to be the equalizer.
Minus the motivational speeches.
We need clarity in 2K, and up to like 5K if we want to hear those consonants and syllables very much clearly. This is an area you would boost.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling
It's like you can hear almost everything, but it's coming up with other imbalances. So usually the boosts will be very minimal, between 1 dB, 2 dB, to like 3 dB, really.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts.
And then I have things I don't like, so instead of boosting here, I would rather cut somewhere between 1.9K around this area.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Where
This
we hear
elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display. As
that annoying frequency.
minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
So if we have a female voice, and one thing about voices like this, if you have a male voice, be very careful not to cut the fundamental frequencies. Like for example, this area
Minus the motivation.
right down here is the fundamental frequency. Let's boost it and you see how it's giving him the character of who he is. Like we know it's a man.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
So if I want it to be bigger and warmer, I'm just boosting, and it's not a lot. This is just 2 dB.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Beyond this, it would sound very
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
So you see, I'm doing very subtle cuts and shaping the tone of this guy. And we've done just very minimal cuts and one boost. Let's bypass and hear the difference. Those with headphones should be able to hear that difference.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Now,
Minus the motivational speeches.
what can you guys tell the difference? This is without an equalizer.
Minus the motivational speeches. Minus the motivational speeches.
This is with,
Minus the motivational speeches.
again.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Can you spot the difference, people with headphones? It's okay. Let me exaggerate the movements so that maybe, because I know also Zoom is compressing the sound a little bit, so maybe the difference might, by the time it leaves here to your ears, it might have changed a lot. So I've done a boost of, instead of 1.5 dB, I've done 3. I've cut out 5 and 5 also here, so 4.9 to 5.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Now this is without.
Minus the motivational speeches. Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece. Minus the motivational speeches. This
Again.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Now this with EQ.
Minus the motivational speeches. This minus the motivational speeches.
Can you hear the difference? I've exaggerated it a little bit. Okay, so if you can hear the difference, please put it in the chat and tell us what differences you are able to hear. So yeah, like what characteristics are you able to hear? Because EQ deals with tone, the tone of things. So we've shaped his tone a little bit.
Minus the motivational speeches. Minus the motivational speeches.
That has EQ, that without EQ.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece.
So without EQ, let me exaggerate what's happening. Let me add another EQ and I exaggerate what I hear when without these EQ cuts.
Minus the motivational speeches. This minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a.
So it's like I am hearing this a lot.
Minus the motivational speeches.
If we remove it.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So with the EQ now.
Minus the motivational speeches.
This sounds more, I don't want to give you the words. I need to see what people are typing. Okay. I want to see what people are saying. Sounds fuller. Yep, that's true. Yep, with more body. Yeah, we can feel more of the, I don't want to cheat for people. I don't want to cheat for people. I think I can notice wide range of tones without the equalizer. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it sounds warmer. That's very correct. Very, very correct. Yeah. And meanwhile, the quality of headphones you use matters. If you just have any headphones, you might not even hear the differences, because professionally we have headphones that are recommended to do this kind of work. So here we have reasonable Herbert Inkera. Yeah, it sounds inviting. True. So we have these are DT990s, open backs. These are good for mixing and like listening and monitoring. So you will see when you buy the headphones, you'll see what they are good for: monitoring, mixing, mastering, or just listening. So, but like headphones for critical listening, yeah, you must make sure you get like professional headphones that are meant for this. If you don't have them, there's no way you will be able to hear some of these differences. So the type of headphones truly matter. I'm going to share our website with you guys, that if you want to buy most of the equipment, it's actually not headphones. You can go there and see these guys like rate some of this equipment, so you can check it out and see. So this, it's called rtings or ratings.com. This is it. So like for example, the kind of headphones that I'm using right now, I can also like compare them with any different things. So you can choose headphones, let's say here. So they give you like 10 best headphones for there. So everything is like right there. Then we have you can search. I can search, let's say, the ones I have right now. Actually, there's a very cheap, interestingly cheap headphone that sounds really good. It's called Superlux. So for people with budget, like the Superlux HD 881, these are good. 668Bs. These are very nice headphones. So you'll see they will tell you natural sound. They are rated 8.1. They have like a neutral sound, sorry, not natural, neutral. So it has great sound quality. It's not well built, it's not very durable, but they are good headphones to like do EQ or compression or do like studio work if you are not willing to spend a lot of money. So the website will show you all this. It will show you so there's the 6.8Bs, but I think these are better. Superlux 681. Yeah, these are neutral sound 8.3. They're a bit much better. So you can look at how they look, how breathable. They really give you like a detailed rating of your headphones. So down here you'll see the profile. You want something that is really relatively flat, especially in the low frequencies and mid frequencies. High frequencies, they don't necessarily have to be so accurate, but mid frequencies, almost everything we consume in our hearing is mid frequency and low frequency. So you want mid frequencies to be as almost flat as possible. So this curve here is very, very important. So check out rthings.com if you want to buy headphones and other materials. They rate TVs, they rate like so many things. It's a place to go to if you're not sure what you want to buy. Check that out. So let's go back to your answers are very correct. Yeah. Without EQ, it sounds fuller, it sounds warmer, it sounds like it has body, it sounds more welcoming, like you feel like I can listen to it without being irritated because the annoying frequencies have been removed. So that's the beauty of EQ and what EQ can do. So let's go back to our PowerPoint. So we looked at shelves, we looked at notches, bells, and all these. So the visual representation, I think I've shown you this. I've shown you the X and Y axis. X is this one that shows you volume, Y is this one that shows you the frequency. And then I've shown you this. And then different frequency analyzers that you can find. There's Isotope, there's Insight, there's Voxengo, Span. That's the first one that I put there. And there's FabFilter ProQ. This is an equalizer that also can be used as an analyzer. It's a very good equalizer. Then FFT, some equalizers will have, especially like with live sound, you'll have to turn on like a button of FFT to be able to visualize what you're doing with the EQ. Let's say, let me go back to Cubase. Let's say share. So if you see here, it says show FFT curve. If I remove this curve,
minus the motivational speeches. Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
So this curve that you're seeing inside is an FFT. If we remove it, I kind of, oh, this is pre-EQ. It looks like I cannot. So this shows before the EQ, let's say.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Then this option shows after EQ.
Minus the
But I want to show you exactly what FFT is.
Minus.
So let's look at this equalizer right now.
Minus the motivational.
He's talking, but we cannot see anything happening.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So when you have FFT active, it gives you like it kind of gives you a visual help to see how the curve looks. So for example, I do not have to have this analyzer open
minus
all the
the
time,
motivational speeches.
because I can already have that analysis happening in the EQ itself. That's what FFT is.
Minus the motivational speeches.
And with this, I can see some frequencies that are boosted, some frequencies that are cut.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Like you see, when I
This
boost
elegant.
when I boost a frequency like that, you can see the FFT changes.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So that means if the sound comes and it's boosted, I can be
minus
able
the
to
motivational speeches.
and say maybe I need to reduce mid-range.
Minus the motivational speech.
So it kind of helps you visually to kind of see where problems are. On some mixers, they will mark certain areas with a lot of frequencies red. So the FFT will help you to show you that there's a lot of energy in this. And I think maybe the Pro Q3 can also do that. So this is one of the examples that were in our PDF. The Pro Q3 looks like this.
Minus the motivational speeches.
When
This
you-
elegant piece of tech.
When you hover, when you just like leave your mouse somewhere down there, the cursor, it will highlight for you frequencies that are very loud. So like these 4 points, it means, but this is a fundamental, so we shall not really like, because this is the sound of the character talking.
Minus the motivational speeches.
But like sounds like this, if I boost it to exaggerate it so that you're able to hear what that sounds like.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So the FFT already showed me there's a lot of energy there.
Minus the motivational
And
speech.
sounds really bad.
Reese,
So you can
minus the
use it and just notch it out.
minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display. Minus
So, but you cannot notch everything out. The natural way the voice works is it's not pink noise that the frequencies are balanced across the spectrum. Some will be loud, some will be soft. But as you gain experience in using equalizers, you'll start identifying, okay, it's showing you something here. Let me boost it and hear it. Let me cut it. So as you gain more experience with equalizers, this is a practice that goes on and on and on. And then I'm gonna also give you another website that you can go to, that you're going to practice all these skills. It's called the Sound Gym. So this is where you can go and like practice your hearing skills. Let's share. So the Sound Gym looks like this, and it has like different exercises. When you log in, I don't think I want to log in right now, but when you start here, you can like log in. Oh, someone can, yeah. All right, I'm not going to log in. Someone else tried to log in here. So when you go through, there are different exercises. There are EQ exercises, there's compressor exercises that will play for you something and then you give you exercises. When you click it and it's correct, you keep getting higher ranks and levels, and they give you different points. So that's one place you should go to train your ears with EQ. See here, train. It says EQ training and yeah, beat training and gym training. This gives you like a whole 360 workout as an audio engineer. So that's another website to check out if you should check out Sound Gym. Okay, so let's go back to our PowerPoint. Yeah, so I've demonstrated much of these things. So frequency bands, we have low frequencies, mid frequencies, high frequencies, and everything is in this document. We shall share it. You'll just go through as I've shown you. And then I have how to EQ a vocal. I've shown you already. So like if we boost low frequencies, it will sound more warmer. If we boost high frequencies, it will cut through a little more. Let's boost high frequencies and see.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
So I can hear too much of the S's, but I also like the brightness of the voice. And to deal with this, there is something called a de-esser. It's a compressor that works in the frequency domain. So the de-esser will find like that energy that is very loud in that high range. Every time it hears S, because it is said to be sensitive at around that area between, let's say, 4K and 16K. Anytime, because that's where the S's are. And you've seen I've put a shelf and boosted between 2K up to 20K. But that means all the S's, and they are annoying and piercing. We have to deal with them. Otherwise, it just doesn't sound good. So when you hear your favorite pop songs, the vocals are like super bright, but then they're not like so piercing. So what they do is they boost like this, and then they apply what we call a de-esser.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So now you can hear he's bright, but every time you see S, this dynamic equalizer ducks. Every time it hears S, it turns the S down.
Minus the motivational speeches.
You see that?
Minus the motivational speeches.
So this is it. And let me remove that high frequency boost.
Minus the motivational speeches. Minus the motivational speeches.
Right now he sounds like he has lisp. Lisp is when you speak like something, somebody, because this de-esser is reducing the S's that are already, that are already not enhanced. So like they are okay, but then they are turning the S's down. If we turn them too down, this guy sounds like he has a problem with his teeth or tongue.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Now he sounds like my he's that's a lisp. So if we do the de-esser like that, it's going to obliterate all the S's. We will not be able to.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling.
So the S's have disappeared because this dynamic equalizer, it's combined with a compressor. Every time something goes beyond something, I turn it down.
Minus the motivational speeches.
So we don't want to overdo
minus
it.
the motivational speeches.
So we could do without it.
Minus the motivational speeches.
Without it, we can actually hear the S's very well. Let's put it back.
Minus the motivational speeches.
They are gone. Or we could
minus the motivational speeches.
recover them by boosting.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED display.
I feel like that's a sweet spot where we are.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling.
And I would reduce on the de-esser a little.
Minus the motivational speeches. This elegant piece of tech boasts a dazzling AMOLED.
And you are noticing most of the results I like, it's when it's not exaggerated. It's very easy to exaggerate these things just because they might sound cooler, or because your ears have detected a change. But if you're more careful and maybe take a break, remove your headphones and walk a little out and come back and listen to the changes you've made, make sure they are not lying to you, then you would be much better off. This is something that you get good with over time. This is equalization. So let's move on. There's a lot more to cover. And let's go back to our PDF. Yeah, so frequency masking. So this happens when we have sounds that are in the same range and one sound either covers another sound. Like for example, let's create a situation of masking where we have that pink noise, and I might want to have that pink noise, let's say, to simulate the sound of the ocean. So let's go back to Keybase. So I'm going to remove our, okay, let's go back here. So him and the frequency, the guy talking and the frequency and the noise, one is going to mask the other. and most likely it's the noise, because the noise is covering the whole frequency spectrum. So when this guy is talking, we might not be able to hear him.
Meet the government venue.
Oh, we still have our notch applied. It sounds like doo. So let's remove that. I'm just bypassing.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic management bracelet. Your new sidekick in the quest for health greatness.
So you can hardly hear the guy. He's there, but you can hardly hear them. So when you have a problem like this, when you have many things happening, they will mask certain things. So to do that, you could, for example, we know this guy's fundamental frequency was about, the beauty with Cubase is I can be able to see another channel through here. So this is our noise.
Meet the government venue.
And the orange is the guy. So let's see.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic.
Where we are able to hear the guy is around this area where his fundamental is above the noise.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic.
But the high frequencies and some of the mid frequencies are totally masking.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic management bracelet.
So, and remember, on our curve, where do we find clarity? Where do we find, let's see, techniques. Here. So presence, upper mid range. Let's go back to this one. This is what I wanted to see. So sharpness and definition, clarity and presence between 2K and 4K. So this, if we know this in our heads, we should be able to know if we want to enhance something. Let's say this is the voice. The voice, the clarity between 2K and 4K, we should be able to receive more detail. And if we want this thing to like cut through its fundamental frequencies and vocals, like to cut through properly, we see it's between 500 and 2. This is right here. So let's see what is happening back in our Cubase. And we can see
Meet the government venue.
Between 500, let's cut all that frequencies. Let's create a bell and make it wide so that it cuts a big range, and cut those out and see what will happen to the vocal if we are able to hear the vocal much better.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic management bracelet.
By cutting, the voice has gained a little more volume.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic management bracelet.
Without the EQ.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic management bracelet.
With.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic.
We are able to hear it a little bit clearer, but there's a lot of masking and attention that is also being stolen from the high end, this area. And it just sounds bad. This, if you listen to this, you might start seeing angels. For if you listen to that for like 3 minutes non-stop, you might start seeing images, because like it just has an irritating thing to the brain. So if you don't want to see angels, let's turn it down. So let's see how, if we turn it down, how it will help how we listen and perceive the vocal.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic management bracelet. Your new sidekick in the quest for health greatness.
This is beginning to sound a lot more like the ocean we might be wanting to create, like that ambience. But so let me also create a high pass filter. So I don't want a lot of that low end, that. Let's cut that out and see if that cleans it up a little.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic management bracelet. Your new sidekick in the quest for.
So you see, we are able to hear this guy a lot more clearer than without anything. Let's remove the low cut filter and the EQ.
Meet the government venue 2 as diabetic management bracelet.
We cannot listen to anything, we can't hear. Let's put back our EQ.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S diabetic management bracelet.
Now we can hear, but now the challenge is this here is his fundamental and we want him to cut through. So let's cut that as well.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S diabetic management bracelet.
Much clearer, much clearer.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S diabetic management bracelet. Your new sidekick in the quest for health greatness.
So what engineers and mixing engineers are doing is they're playing with these different elements with the EQ to make sure that we focus on what's most important. One of the best practices that you need to do is on a live setting where almost the difference between what is important and what's not important is very small, because you need to hear the instrument, you need to hear the voice. It's not like this noise here that I can cut drastically. The first thing you need to do before you even cut is turn the volume down. It kind of fixes a lot before you rush to the EQ. So before you do anything, put everything together, make sure everything sounds good, just balanced. So in this case, I would turn this noise down, and that should make the voice already pop through.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S diabetic management bracelet. Your new sidekick in the quest for health greatness.
So before I do anything, just turning the volume down where I can still hear it, but I've just turned it down. It's where I will start from.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S diabetic management bracelet.
So at this point, it's where I notice, okay, maybe I need more low end.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S.
And I don't want much of the high end.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S diabetic management bracelet. Your new sidekick in the quest for health greatness. Meet the Garmin Venue 2S diabetic management bracelet.
So now it's more ambient and it's more easy and sweeter to listen to with noise that was annoying, very annoying, but now it's something that could easily be in context and someone can actually enjoy. And you can do this maybe if we add music on top. It's something someone could maybe enjoy, like listen to a lullaby or listen to music that will take them to bed. So first one.
We have no sound. Goodbye. Okay. Yes, there is no sound. Hello.
Hello, sorry, something happened to the console. We are adjusting the settings and then we reconnect shortly. Apologies for the inconveniences. Give us like a minute and we'll be back. Cool. Just bear with us kindly. We are fixing this and then we return when we have audio. We just went near the mic cut off, so we are reconnecting and then we come back shortly.
And we're back. Yeah, I think we are cool. So, masking, we were talking about masking before things got off. So, I was saying I have a piano right in front of me. So, you might not see, but I could use just the two elements to create ambience. Use noise, and there's people who just have channels that just has noise like that. But if it's just random noise without EQ, let's say like that. This is pink noise. I think babies love pink noise. And if we go it's a beautiful piece, but I could focus more on the music, or like if the noise is not overwhelming. I hope you can hear. Okay, yeah, I think you can. So now it's like a bed and ambience. I've used EQ to create the separation, to focus on the music. I want you to hear the high notes, I want you to hear the low notes. Whatever. Don't sleep. Yeah, so this is happening because we are focusing on what's important. We want the piano. Meanwhile, yeah, you can load instruments in Cubase and play them. The sounds. So that's a piano in Cubase called Valve. It's a beautiful piano. So that's masking. Let's continue with our PDF, I think.
Excuse me, whoever is logged in as Zoom user, kindly switch to your real name so that we know who is attending. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, that was our noise, and this is the instrument. This is the voice. So you can have different types of tracks in Cubase that are going simultaneously. And yeah, so by knowing this, you tend to know how you want, what feelings you want to create. If we go back to that piano and we boost the highs and boost the bass, we've just created our own instrument. Actually, this kind of compensates. If I cut out the highs, it just sounds so boomy. It sounds warmer, but it's boomy, and it's not so interesting. So we can't overly boost some of these things. We don't want to boost. This is what we had boosted the low end. It even starts distorting for some reason. It doesn't sound good. So you should be very careful. And then if we do the high end, there's not much information in the piano that is in the high end, and I don't know why you would boost the high end. But when you boost, you start hearing the hammer hitting the strings, that, which is not really good. So those sounds are there, and by exaggerating your EQ, you can shape these sounds. Let's say I can also use EQ to create a sense of distance. We did this when we were doing sound design by cutting a bit of the high end and a bit of the low end. So I'm using shelves. Sounds a bit far. If we boost the high frequency, it will sound a little closer. Because you can hear the hammer, you can hear some of those details. So this could also be demonstrated with a vocal, not only the piano. So
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S Diabetic Management.
let's turn off.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S Diabetic Management Bracelet.
So if we turn off the high frequencies and turn his volume down, he'll sound like he's far.
Meet the Garmin Venue 2S Diabetic Management Bracelet.
It creates a sense of distance, because when we are far from things, high frequencies don't travel long distances. So by doing that, we create an illusion like that. So all those are cool things that the equalizer can do. Now we know. And now I would love us to go to compressors. Okay. Let me move this page to stop sharing. Let me bring this here. Cool. Now that, yeah. Oh, components of DAWs. That's like an old class. Where is our new one? This one? Yeah. This is the right one. So, right. So those are EQs. These are techniques you can use, like if you have explosions in your sound effects, focus on the low end. If we want clarity, vocals, and all these other things, focus in the mid-range. And if you want things like to sparkle, like glasses are shattering, focus on the higher end. That will give you that. So carve out frequencies in effects that overlap, because that creates the problem of masking that we've just talked about. So next is we'll talk about compression. Compression is something that controls dynamics. So as we've been able to control things in the frequency spectrum, right now we should be able to control things in the dynamic range, like how loud things get and how soft things get. So for example, dynamic range is generally the difference between the soft parts and the loud parts, and it's the range of volumes that audio signal can encompass. So to do that, we want to control some of these things with a compressor. This can happen with if we have like drums or things that are percussive, things like sound effects that the moment that explosion happens, the world will shake, but not just the world shaking, the equipment might also die because you've overwhelmed the whole thing with a lot of sound. So that's why we need to use like compressors and limiters to be able to be loud, but not too loud that things will burn or speakers will will get spoiled. So we use compressors. Or someone is going to shout on stage, they will shout, you will hear that they're shouting, but people don't have to hold their ears. So we use tools to help dynamic range to keep certain things controlled. So a compressor looks like this. This is a compressor from Ableton. People who use Ableton know this one. So these are the components that make the compressor. We have attack, release, ratio, threshold, makeup, range, dry and wet. Some don't have some of these things, but the most important are these. So you have threshold. This is a place where you say every time sound passes this point, we want it to be turned down. So that is the threshold. It's nothing. Anything that goes beyond a certain point, let's take it down. Ratio is every time that sound goes through the threshold, it exceeds the threshold, turn it down by a certain ratio. For example, that means if we have a ratio of 4:1, every 4 dB that goes through the threshold, only 1 dB will go through. So that means 4 dB, 3 dB is reduced, so that only 1 dB can go through. So that's basically that's the ratio. You get it says 4 dB comes, 1 dB goes through. So that means the threshold has eaten the 3 dB, only 1 dB is going to go through. If you have a ratio of 1:1, there's no compression happening because the same amount going in is the same amount being allowed to go through. So 1:1 means signal of 1 dB goes ahead of the threshold, we let 1 dB go through. So if it's 1 dB, then 1 dB goes through. So it's 1:1, nothing happens. If it's 2:1, it means if we get a signal that has 2 dB that goes beyond the threshold, we will cut 1 dB will go through. So 1 dB is attenuated. So that is ratio. Attack is how fast is the compressor going to react. If the sound comes like it's a punch is a sound effect, or a slap like that. It's very fast. If you set a slow attack, the compressor won't react. So you need a very fast attack to compress something like that. Release is once I've compressed it, do I let go or do I keep compressing? So it's how fast the compressor will let go of what it has compressed. Then the knee is how hard is the compressor going to react. I think so. There are different types of compressors. We have this one that just gives you a graphic visual like this. We have others that are modeled from analog equipment, so you'll see some of these things in different studios, some of these things on live events. This is the 1176, this is a Money, this is a 2A, this is the SSL bus compressor. So these different compressors react differently to sound, but they do exactly the same thing. So some can be good when you've mixed everything, let's put it there. Some are very good if we have one instrument that is too loud, we put a compressor and it kind of controls some of those things. We have actors that are acting, and every time one guy is usually too dynamic, he has very soft lines, 1 2 3 4 5 hey! Like that kind of thing. So you need to find ways of controlling such people, and usually like the compressor is going to help. Right now on my microphone I have a compressor, so even if I shout, you'll hear that I've shouted, but you will not hear distortion because it's kind of helping this microphone have like a consistent volume all over and across. So I'm going to show you, let's see this guy on this voice, and let's look at these areas where he's very dynamic. Let's say we are happy with the EQ. It might not be the best EQ ever.
Lab right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and clutter.
So minus the lab coat and clutter sounds weak, but we can.
Lab right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and clutter.
So let me zoom that in so you can actually see how dynamic this thing is. Here he sounds okay. Here we see the signal kind of goes low. Here he's louder, and then he kind of goes down.
Lab right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and
Here he's
clutter.
softer,
But wait, there's more.
then he gets loud. So we can use a compressor to kind of like solve such a problem. So I'm going to use Cubase normal compressor, the one that comes. Every DAW has a compressor of its own, so the compressors will be very different depending on what you use. So I'm going to explain. This is this here controls the threshold, as you can see.
Lab right on your wrist.
Here, this thing that is here that does this, it's how much is being reduced. Ratio is 2:1 right here. So we can make it, let's say 4:1 if we want like serious compression. Let's make it 4:1, or 3:1 is a good compression ratio. So, and then attack, we want it to be very fast.
Lab right on your wrist.
This is very fast. So I want to be able to record what is happening. So let's go through the bus here and mute this.
Lab right on your wrist, minus.
So I will record something that is compressed and something that is not compressed so that we can see the difference. Now I'll change this to compressed signal. So I'm going to record exactly the same thing.
Lab right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and clutter. But wait, there's more.
So this is exactly the same. Let's remove the EQ. This is where our noise was going through, so I've used the same channel. So I don't want any EQ, anything active.
Lab right on your wrist.
So when we look at these two signals, there's a difference in dynamic range. One has been compressed, one is not compressed. And we can see, let's see the difference here.
Right on your wrist.
Oh, the volume is low, is down. Let's put it up.
Right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and clutter.
So here, you can see the difference is in this is the soft parts have been turned up a little bit. They're actually a little louder than they were. But whenever it is loud, it's also turned down. So like we have an overall boost of the whole frequency. So like if I boost this to be at the same level as this one, you'll hear that I'm able to get more volume out of the new one, yet the signal is almost the same. Like let's look at the meter. So like let's look at a meter right here.
Right.
This is the uncompressed signal.
Lab right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and clutter. But wait, there's more.
So the peak, it's peaking at 8.9. That is the maximum volume it was hitting. So that's most likely like around this area, because these are the loudest that we can see in our signal.
Lab right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and clutter. But wait, there's
If we listen to the new one that is compressed,
right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and clutter. But wait, there's more.
I'm able to get more volume, but it's not overwhelming the scale. And I could actually go to exactly to peak at 8.9.
Right on your wrist, minus the lab coat and clutter. But wait, there's more.
So visually, if I look at this,
Right on your wrist, minus the
and balance them, the compressed one has more volume because the difference between its loud points and soft points has been reduced. See, this one, dynamic range, this is dynamic range. Here we have a very loud signal, here we have a very soft signal. So the difference between this and this is what we call dynamic range. So we use a compressor to reduce the dynamic range of the voice of an instrument, and we do that by manipulating it. So for example, let's look at what we did to achieve this compression level.
Lab right on your wrist minus the lab cord and clutter. But wait, there's more.
So it's a very fast attack. If we have a slow attack,
lab right on your wrist.
Watch this.
Lab right on your wrist minus the lab cord and clutter.
Almost nothing is being reduced. If we do
lab right on your wrist minus the lab cord and clutter,
a fast attack, it's reacting very quickly. So these are things that I cannot just cover in one class because compression is...
Lab right on your wrist.
If I overly compress, if that I've turned down the threshold, I will kill the voice because like every natural speech has dynamic range. So dynamic range is not an enemy. It's how are you able to create a more natural dynamic range. Like you don't want to create something that is too quiet and then very loud. You want a balance between. So if I put my threshold down, it means
lab right on your wrist.
It is compressing everything, and I don't want to compress everything. I only want to compress the loud points so that they just get a little quieter so that I can put the whole overall volume up. So if we overcompress, let's see if I record this new overly compressed signal, how it looks.
Lab right on your wrist minus the lab cord and clutter. But wait, there's more.
So
lab right on your
this
lab right on your wrist minus the lab cord and clutter.
Let me turn its volume up, and the reason I'm turning the volume up is
lab right on your wrist.
This thing, it sounds okay, but there are no dynamics. There's no person who speaks at exactly the same volume, all the words same.
Lab right on your wrist minus the lab cord and clutter. But wait, there's more.
Sounds okay, but this sounds more natural where we are not compressing.
Right on your wrist minus the lab cord and clutter. But wait, there's more.
This sounds more natural because you can feel the dynamics in the voice. So you don't want to kill every dynamic that is in the voice. You want to use compression in a way that you are enhancing what should be sounding natural. So basically, that is in a nutshell, that's what compression does, and we use compression in so many aspects, in studio, on stage, in sound design, sound effects, and also maybe to show you this compressor is could be a very good demonstration of what is happening, because it kind of shows you how the compressor is reacting. Let me show you. Let's compress with let's compress something like, so we have a voice. Let me just load any sample of drums. Any drums should be able to do hard knocks. So these are loops that come in Cubase. I just don't feel like creating anything right now. Alright, I've gotten an Afrobeat loop right here that has presented itself available. but it is telling me it will sound better when it is at tempo 95. So I've changed my tempo to 95. So let's look at this. Of course, these are drums. They have to be dynamic. Drums are dynamic. You can see loud points. So I'm going to use a compressor, the Pro C2. So this is the compressor I showed you in the document. So this is the beat on its own. And sounds decent, sounds good. Actually, we already have. So let's remove compression from it. Let me turn it down, it's kind of loud. Okay, so that's the natural sound of the beat. Let's put a compressor on it and see what a compressor can do. It can change the sound of this thing. So I'm turning it on. Already we are feeling like it's dead. So let's set to 4:1, let's say, or 5:1. So this is the ratio. I've changed it to like 5:1. This is a very fast attack, very fast release. And because we are turning things down, there's a knob called gain. So let's remove auto gain. Usually it automatically turns, depending on how much it has reduced, it automatically turns everything up again for you. But so there's very minimal compression that is happening. So I want you to see what compression is doing when you look at this FFT. This is not FFT though, but this graph representation of the audio, that waveform representation of the audio going through the compressor. This is very minimal compression that is happening. This red curve up shows, let's turn the threshold. So this means where the threshold is, anything that goes up above that point, above this point here. So the threshold is set to -9 dB. Anything that goes above -9 dB will be turned down. So we can see up there, it is being turned down. And we can exaggerate that. Now let me turn it back up. The compressor has killed our sound because like it has turned down everything that was dynamic and turned it down. Now we don't enjoy the punch that is in the drums because there's a fast attack. It's immediately it hits the threshold, they turn it down. They don't give it room to think about it. Yeah. So, and that is distorting. But we could get more punch if we have a slow attack. So that means I let those dynamic points pass through because these are drums. Or in case if you had explosions and sound effects, you want to hear that initial attack. So let it slow attack. I've delayed the attack. Let's put the threshold up. You see, if I turn it all the way up, there's no compression happening because it is too slow that by the time it gets the transients, it's not going to, like, they will have passed. So there's nothing happening. So when I put it here, the drums sound a bit tighter because it's reducing just after the transient, that noise that is in between, it's turning that down. And now I have more punch in. And if we make the release slower, we would even have them a little tighter. So something like that. Okay, this can be very, very subtle. Let me so this is the difference. Not compressed, compressed. This sounds more tighter, and I can even make it tighter by slow attack, fast release. So you make them tight. This, you can use these tricks in production when you're scoring, making music for, you know, for your theater plays, or producing music. These are, or doing sound effects. These are tools that you can obviously use. So I'm using a compressor right now to shape the sound of the drums. I have to exaggerate this so that you hear it. This is my new compression. If I turn it up to compensate, you can hear the shakers much more because I've reduced the dynamic range. Now the shakers are up. Whatever was loud was brought down, so everything is now compressed. What was low came up, what was loud came down. So you can hear shakers which were not audible before. Without, you can hear them much better, but because I've overly compressed now, they're like noise. So yeah, so that is compression. And if I want to do crazy compression like that, is I can overly compress where I take the dynamic range off and then layer that with something else that has dynamic range. Like for example, let's redo. I think I deleted my drums and my compressor. Redo. Okay, so okay, let's do this, what I wanted to do with drums. Let me do it with the voice.
Right.
So I will create a version that is very compressed, and layer it with a version that is not compressed. That gives us what they call parallel compression, if you ever hear about something like that. So I'm using another type of compressor just to show you the variety.
Right on your wrist. Right on your wrist and minus the lab coat all and rolled into one. But with features like heart rate monitors and GPS tracking, it's like having a mini health concierge, sleep coach and stress buster all rolled into one. With features like heart rate monitors and GPS tracking.
All right, so let me compress.
Sleep coach and stress buster all rolled into one. With features like heart rate monitors.
If we do a trick called parallel compression, one version is very compressed, another one is not compressed at all. And this gives us a very controlled dynamic range as well. It's one way of having better another type of dynamic range. So basically that is compressors. Applications, we use them in leveling vocals. We use them in adding punch to drums. We've demonstrated that. Gluing groups together, so like if you have instruments or all dialogue going through one bus. We talked about buses, so you can have them. And here we have different attack and settings for compressors to achieve some of those things, which again, go to the sound gym and practice this if you want to really know what compression does and be good at this. And then right now in 10 minutes it's a question that we had last time where people were asking about radio frequencies and how do you tune your lavalier microphones. If you're in a place that has a lot of interference, how do you deal with that? This is, I'm going to call in my colleague ISIMA to come through and demonstrate for you how to solve that problem. But otherwise, I know you have questions, so please write them down and get ready.
Okay. Hellos, greetings to all of you. Hope you've enjoyed that session that has been on about frequencies and compression. Last week, as we are talking about that chapter that we are covering, we talked about frequency navigation for radios or wireless devices. And one way of really dealing with these is by, one, allocate frequencies carefully so that you don't avoid so that you avoid overlaps and interferences. One, what I mean by allocate them carefully is have each wireless device on a separate frequency range. Let's say if you have one at 685.305, then you should have the other radio device at, let's say, 678 point whatever frequency that will be there. Yeah. This really helps you to ensure that you have harmonious use of the spectrum, and also as you do this, regularly monitor your spectrum to detect and address any interferences. You always have to keep your headphones on and alert so that in case you hear any frequency interferences or drop, you definitely navigate through to find out which channel or which radio transmitter is being interfered. Some of the common sources of interference include, we have both natural and man-made interference sources. For man-made, we have electrical appliances and then wireless devices and broadcasting stations. With the electrical appliances, those are any electronic gadgets that might sometimes get closer to your device. For instance, in my hand, I have a lapel body pack. Sometimes if I bring a phone closer to this device, it might be interfered, provided that the phone has frequencies that can electrically interfere with that particular frequency that you're in. It might be that your phone is in the same frequency range with this device. Or it can be any other wireless device, Bluetooth, and so on. Or you might be closer to a broadcasting mast or a broadcasting house, or next to somewhere where, like in that vicinity, there is a broadcasting station or van or B-van. So you, as you reach any location that you're going to be operating in, always make your thorough research to find out which masts are around. Is there any other broadcasting station nearby? Is there any manufacturing or electrical company around, so that you see if at all they won't affect. You can do your proper frequency search earlier. For the natural sources that might interfere with your frequencies, we have lightning.
then solar flares and other atmospheric phenomena. One of the way to mitigate this is by use of filters or shielding and directional antennas. With filters, you can go online and read more about filters in relation to frequency interference. I won't go deep in this because we have really limited time remaining. And for shielding, this is a use of other magnetic devices. Shielding happens mainly internally. As they are manufacturing this, they will use some shielding gadgets or devices to help in frequency interference. Directional antennas, you see on this, there is this antenna already, but there are some other external antennas that can be connected to the mixer and then later help out to boost your signal. You can go and research about antennas that help in signal boosting for live events or film or even theater. You can go and research more about that. I continuously say research it because we actually have one more class, and after this you'll be on your own to really take time to research and learn more about this sound if you're really interested in learning more. And it's something that you should all embrace. As sound engineers, you should research day in, day out. I'll quickly first revisit a request from someone who sent an email. I just saw it today. I think it was Sonja, inquiring about the assignment. We shared an email, so kindly revisit that email that we shared with the assignment so that you know what you have to do and what you have to deliver as your final marking guide. For those who sign in with user name as Zoom user and so on, please, I've always encouraged that sign in with your right names so that we are able to capture and register your attendance. If we don't have your names, it will affect how you're going to be credited. I'll move on from that. Relative regulations and guidelines. Each country or each state has its regulation body that govern these transmission frequencies. You will find that there is ITU, radio regulation for in the states, and some other nations, like they use different terms. As you visit any state or country, make research. I mentioned this last week. Make research so that you are able to find out the right frequency chart of that particular state that you're in, and you'll be guided. These frequency charts are online sometimes. If not, if you visit a nation, inquire about the regulating body and find time, visit one of the offices so that they present that frequency chart, so that as you go in the field, you're already informed with what frequencies are being occupied by radios, TV stations, other communication channels, security, airlines, and so on, so that you avoid being in the same frequency range. It goes back to research and know what you have to do. I'll quickly demonstrate something really first on this. I hope you can see. This is a Sennheiser body pack. This is the receiver. In most cases, we adjust frequencies using the receiver. So I'll switch it on, as you see there. Hope you're all able to see that. So from there, I hope I hope the camera captures really well. So here, okay, the zoom is not really working well, but let me just explain really fast how it operates. When you open any body pack, receiver body pack, go place the button that has settings. When you press it, navigate through that body pack until when you find something to do with sequence, or sometimes it's easy setup. Then click to it. It will bring current list, or you can, if you remove, it will bring scan new list. If you go to that, just scan for the new list. We call this frequency sweep or frequency search, so that your device is able to search for the new frequencies that, or the open frequencies that can be accessed in that particular area. For instance, now I'm in a scan new list. If I say okay, it will start scanning. So bad that my camera lens can't really show you this because it's a white screen. You can't read those. But right now what it's doing, it's yeah, I think there it's slightly closer. Oh, it goes black. Yeah, you can see that it's trying to scan. It's scanning for the present frequencies, and after, okay, there you see that thing, it's moving around. Sorry, every time I press on it, the screen gets bright and you can't. Okay, there. You see, now it has finished scanning. So it's showing me how many frequencies are free. I have 2 free frequencies, so I can move with that. I'll just say, select and say, okay. And I save this. After saving, I still go around and look for what we call sync. Yeah, I've now found sync. So what I'll do is switch on my transmitter, and you see these body packs, both of them have this Blu-ray thing. This is their communication area. These two are able to communicate through this Blu-ray thing. So if I press sync on here, on the receiver, I'll just say sync. So I'll make sure that these two Blu-ray things face each other for a few seconds, and then it will show you that they are synced. They are now in the same frequency range. I don't know if you can see them well. They are all in the frequency range of 650.600. That's the frequency range they are in. So anytime you visit a new location, do a proper frequency sweep on your device so that you are able to search for frequencies that are free. And even when you get some frequency interferences, excuse me, feel free to remove and change to another frequency. That helps you to find another open frequency so that you don't get these constant interferences, maybe from a radio mast, a telecom mast, security radio calls in the neighborhood, and so on. So doing a thorough frequency search helps. Also ensuring if you're using more than 2 or more than 1 frequent radio devices, make sure that each pair is in a different frequency range. For instance, this pair is matching. And also make sure that you mark your receiver and transmitter so that you can be able to tell that this particular receiver communicates with this device. Okay? For instance, you see on this body pack, it's marked 4. And this also has 4 on it. So I know that these two move together. Okay? If you may excuse me for just 2 seconds, I can show you. I'll show you how I mark these other, like all the body parts. They are in different numbers. 4 will communicate with 4. On this, I have another one marked as B. That means its other receiver will also be marked B. Then I have another marked 7. So each device is marked the same, so that I know this pair moves together. This moves with this. You see? 7 with 7. Okay? When I'm picking these radios, I'll know that this pair should be together and they should be having the same frequency range. If it's 626.300, both of them should be communicating that. And when I switch to my radios of 4, they should also be communicating the same language. This pair should be communicating the same language, but it shouldn't be in the same language with this other pair. This is what I mean, that when you're setting, make sure that each pair is different. If this is a 650.600, then this, let me just put in batteries and I show you which frequency range it is really fast. Yeah, you see, now this, my pair marked as 7, is in a frequency range 667.200, which is different from my pair marked 4, which is 650.600. This is already enough for me to know that they are separate. I've done my navigation and set everything, every pair, in a unique frequency range. If they happen to be similar or slightly closer to each other in the frequencies, that means you'll keep getting some interference from one of them. Okay? If they are in the same frequency range, one will mute the other automatically, or they'll just keep crossing. That's when you find that you have, if 4 is connected to your, let's say, channel 2, and 7 is connected to channel 3, you'll be listening to my voice. Let's say I'm the one wearing body pack 4, and my colleague Emanzi is wearing body pack 7. I might be receiving his voice in my channel. because we are in the same frequency range, which we might in the end say, I'm being interfered. His voice is interfering with ISIMA's voice. So to avoid that, make sure that the frequencies are set separately. They are all different. That's it with how you can quickly navigate through these frequencies in setting. Make sure each pair of the body pack is in a unique setting from the other pair. 2, do a proper frequency sweep to see which frequencies are open in that area. 3, actually this should be 1, make sure that you research about the frequencies that are being occupied by other departments that use radio frequencies. That's radio stations, telecom companies, TV stations, security departments, airlines, and so on. Understand that, and then you'll be able to move really smoothly. In case of any questions, we are now to listening what you have to say.
Yes, can I ask?
Let me see. Yes, please.
I wanted to know, because there are some body packs that have one transmitter and rather one receiver and 2 transmitters.
Yes.
And from what you showed us a body pack that has 1 transmitter and 1 receiver. So in the process of pairing and syncing, how do I go about a pack that has 2 transmitters and 1 receiver? How do I pair them, or the 3?
Yeah, that's common with gadgets or products of Saramonic, Boya, Comica, and so on. What you do on the receiver, you'll see that they split channels. Sometimes it might be A and B, or 1 and 2, and so on. They have different ways. Even on the transmitters, you have one reading as A and the other reading as B, or one reading as 1 and the other reading as 2. So you'll be able to adjust the frequencies of A, and then when you go to the receiver, match the receiver frequencies of A to match with the frequencies of the transmitter A. Then adjust frequencies of receiver B to match with the frequencies of the transmitter A. You still have options of matching and syncing these as in the settings of those body packs. Just that sometimes these body packs come with 1 cable that has that connects to the device, and you might be getting both these channels as 1 track to your recording device. What you can do if you really need to split them, you can go to any professional cable soldering engineer, and they will help you solder a split cable or a Y cable that connects with in most cases these body packs connect with a 3.5 small pin or 3.5 mm pin. So let that person solder 1 as pin that connects and then splits to whichever way you want to connect. It can be 3.5 to jack, like 2 jacks. It comes as 1 into the body pack, and then out it splits to 2. Either they can be both jacks or XLRs. And then you'll put one in let's say your channel 1 and the other in channel 2. That way these two devices will come in split. Okay, and unless you want them to come to the same channel, that's when you leave them like that. But you can divide them by getting a split cable, and I can assure you that you can still navigate these body packs and adjust the frequencies on the body packs. They give you that option. Any device that comes with 2 transmitters and 1 receiver, they have that option of you being able to adjust settings for each transmitter. Hope I've answered you well.
Yeah, thank you.
I use Adobe Audition for recording and editing my sound. Can I be able to achieve the same sound result as showed today using only that? Yeah, you'll achieve the same effect. Why there is dB in software? Why we use dB? Sonja, I think I didn't get you well in this question. Then Zoom user, I have commented on this. Please, I can't know who is asking this because you're marked as a Zoom user. I was truly grateful for the opportunity to acquire knowledge about sound design. Thank you. Thank you for this remark. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, Sound Gym is free, so you can go start with a free version. There's more advanced features have paid program, but for the basic things, you have points they give you every day, so you can practice every day. So you can do Sound Gym anytime, anywhere. Go practice compression, and EQ. And in your project, in your homework, apply some EQ, apply some compression. Yeah, light. Don't overdo it. Yeah, otherwise have a great weekend. Thank you for hanging out with us today. And this is our second last class. So we'll be looking forward to seeing you and your work in the next class, and review it right here online, since you're going to send us the emails. Yeah, so good luck, and we can't wait to listen to the amazing works you sound designers are doing out there. Yeah, have a good weekend.
We expect to receive the final version of your works on Thursday. That will be the 14th, which is Thursday next week. So I hope that you've all done your recordings and now designing. Stay blessed. We meet again on
Hello.
Yes, please.
Can you resend our homework in email, our task?
Okay, we are going to reshare that. Though, as we do that, you can always...
I think you didn't send. The last Sunday I asked, you didn't send us. Thank you.
No, we had shared this email earlier. We shared this 2 weeks ago, I think. Last week, but one. That's when we sent in the assignment. So I was thinking that and hoping that everyone received that. But we'll reshare it today so that
yes,
you work on that.
Yes, I wrote you last night as well to send me. I didn't get it today.
Okay, let's reshare it today.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other concern before we wrap up the class? Okay. Thank you. Stay blessed wherever you are till we meet on Sunday and as we receive the works on Thursday. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
You're welcome.